This is the voice in the wilderness of the people, coming to you in the great wind. This is another day that EZER has made. Let us be glad and rejoice in it. We sing praise to EZER, our Redeemer, Creator of heaven and of earth and of all things there is in it. He who made us in his image and in his likeness, has formed the heavens, the earth, the seas, and everything. He has given us his name and his commandments and his promises that he made to us. My dear brothers and sisters, speaking to some of our brothers and sisters, I realize that we are still lacking what EZER did for us when we were in the land of Mizraim in Egypt. When EZER gave us his name, EZER gave us a constitution. The commandments of EZER was the constitution for the land that he was preparing our ancestors to go in and to possess. What they have done was they did not regard the constitution after a while. They start making their own laws. They start turning away from the principles of EZER set down in his constitution. And that's why the land spewed them out. My dear brothers and sisters, we have to obey the constitution that EZER gave us. Some of us, we regard the constitution of men, the American Constitution. In that constitution, you are 3/5 of a human. In this land, this is the land, it was said to you, you are not EZER's people. And EZER said, in this land, you shall be called his people. We have to go back to the constitution of EZER and follow all the principles that are laid down in there. All the laws that are written in there. It is for us, a people, who EZER just gave a land to. And when we were in that land, we became a nation. And our constitution was written by EZER, our Redeemer, not by man. My dear brothers and sisters, today, I want you to know that EZER is stretching out his hand to us a second time. I want you to know as I speak these words to you, EZER's hands is stretched out to you. He is calling you, O children of Israel, EZER and Judea. EZER, your Redeemer, the Holy One of Israel, EZER, is calling you. EZER is gathering us as a people again. He is ready to bring us back into the land that he gave our ancestors. EZER promised us a land upon the earth. EZER never promised to take us as his people into heaven. He promised us a land where he have chosen to put his name there. That land is today called Moriah. It is Jerusalem. Under the Mount Moriah, this is his holy mountain called by his name, Mount Moriah, the land Moriah, the land of EZER, and the mountain of EZER. This is where he chose to put his name. This is where he chose to put the tribe of Judah. This is the land where EZER has chosen to set the tribe Judah. And we are the people, who are scattered to the four corners of the earth, are from the tribe of Judah. The northern tribe that was called EZER-IAH is scattered in the lands over there. IAH promised to gather us together and make us one people, one nation. No northern, no southern, one nation. Under the banner EZER-IAH, he will bring us back into the land. Today, I know IAH is stretching out his hand to us. He has increased knowledge. He has started to quicken us in all the different parts of the nations where we are scattered. So I will take this time to show you what IAH has promised us in these days. I will first take you into the book First Chronicles, and I will go into chapter 16, verse 35. And there, IAH is saying to us some things that we should do. And let me explain to you. He's saying there, he said, then say, save us, O IAH of our salvation, and gather us and deliver us from the nations, to give thanks to your holy name and to glory in your praise. So here, I am saying that we have to say, he's telling us that we have to ask him to save us, because he is our Savior, and to gather us and to deliver us from the nations, to give thanks to IAH's holy name and to glory in his praise. The very thing, brothers and sisters, our ancestors had to do when they were in the land of Egypt. They had to call on IAH, our Redeemer, for redemption. And they asked Pharaoh to let them 3 days journey into the wilderness, that they may praise IAH, their Redeemer. They did not have a man before them. They did not have an idol before them. They did not have a picture of a man before them. But they was asking to go into the wilderness to praise their Redeemer, the mighty one. My dear brothers and sisters, all they had was a name. The name that Moses, Shemaiah, brought unto them. And they was asking Pharaoh to allow them 3 days journey into the wilderness, that they may praise IAH's name, just like he's saying here that I've just read to you. Now, let me take you to Psalms 106, and I will go in verse 47. And here he's saying, save us, O IAH, our Redeemer, and gather us from among the nations, to give thanks to your holy name and glory in your praise. Again, here our ancestors is telling us exactly what we have to do. We have to praise the name IAH, our Redeemer, and no other name. We have to turn to him and sing his praise. My dear brothers and sisters, IAH is letting you know what you have to do in this time. Praise IAH, praise IAH, praise IAH. Now I will take you, I've set some verses here that I will read to you, to let you know that IAH was not speaking to the whole world. IAH was speaking to the children of Israel and Judah. IAH was not speaking to all the nations. IAH was speaking to his people. Israel was a special people. EZER-IAH was formed from the children of Iacob, the 12 sons. And EZER has made a covenant with us that we will obey him, we will praise him, we will honor him, we will remember his name, and we will not use it for vain purposes, neither will we cast it to ruin. We will have no idols before him. We will seek no other mighty one besides him. We will serve no gods but him. And he promised, if we do this, he will bless us and make us higher than all the peoples of the earth. He will always keep us at the head, and we will never be at the tail. He will bless us in the city and in the field. He will bless our children. He will bless everything we put our hands to. EZER will always be with us, and we will always prevail. Read this in Deuteronomy chapter 28. My dear brothers and sisters, EZER has set his principles before us. We have to do what he gave us to do. We are not to choose what we want to do. EZER has given us his holy words, which begin in Genesis and ends in Malachi. We are not to go into any book that EZER did not give unto us. The New Testament that is in the back of your book was not given to us by EZER, our Redeemer. He did not send any prophets with those prophecies that is in this book. He did not send anyone with those names. EZER sent his prophets, and his prophets had his name in their name. They was bringing his word unto his people, and his people will know his prophets by their names. My dear brothers and sisters, this new book that is called the New Testament was written by the Romans. It was not written by the people of EZER-IAH. It was not written by our ancestors. EZER did not speak in this book. EZER did not give anyone this book and say, bring it unto the children of EZER-IAH. In this book, you will see all the nations of the Gentiles. And in our book, which is from Genesis to Malachi, you will see it is to the children of EZER-IAH and EZER-IAH. So now I will read from your book, and to show you what EZER is saying to you, to let you see who will gather you, who will be your Savior, who is your Redeemer, who will look out for you as who had looked out for you when you was in the land of Egypt. My dear brothers and sisters, from the time we was driven from Jerusalem and fled into Africa, into the land of Ham, no country, no nation, no people, no kingdom, nobody sought after us, nobody rescued us, nobody helped us, nobody seek to find out what's happening to us. We were on our own because we have turned away from EZER, our Redeemer. Our ancestors had turned away from his principles. They had turned away from his constitution, and he drove them out the land. And we fled into the land of Ham with nothing. We had nothing. My dear brothers and sisters, when we were in our land, we had temples. We had houses. We had places built with gold and silver and precious stones. We had garments like no other nation had ever seen. They have shown you when the kings of the other nations saw what we had, they was flabbergasted. They was astonished to see the beauty of Jerusalem. When they saw how organized we were, they were astonished. Even when our young men from our ancestors, those who could have escaped the Romans when they invaded Jerusalem in 70 AD, and we ran into the land of Ham. Even the Hamites, they was jealous of the way we was organized. We had nothing, but we was organized. We had no choice to be naked. We had no choice to build houses with straw. We had no choice but to take wattles and build our home. We had nothing. We cut down their forest, their jungle. We cut down their forest and we made dwelling place therein. And even in that place, they was jealous of us. They envied us. Our Redeemer has told us all the beautiful things he had done for us before. And until they turned away from his commandments, his constitution, there was almighty men, men of valor, strong men, mighty nation, most beautiful. Even when the Queen of Sheba saw the beauty of Jerusalem, she couldn't believe it. We had books. We was reading and writing. We was sculpting. We had engineers, we had smiths, carpenters. Themselves tell you that. And they was jealous. And what did they do? They formed a concordat. They made an agreement with the Romans, the Gentiles, the Europeans, to destroy our place that we was just building on their land. They didn't want us there. So they made agreement to sell us to them. And they captured us and sold us. And that's why EZER says they all are our enemies. They all are our enemies. And he keeps pointing out to us that he wants us, he chose us, he created us to be a people unto himself. And he is the one that will rescue us. My dear brothers and sisters, I don't want you all to get frustrated, because all that's happening has to happen. I have set a time period for everything. Our period of glory is about to rise. EZER stretched out his hand to us. Accept his calling. Call his name. His name is EZER. Sing his praise and glory before him. So now, my brothers and sisters, I will read some quotes from some of the prophets. And I will begin with the prophet Micah, whose correct name was Micaiah. EZER says, he will surely assemble all of you, all of us, of Jacob, Israel. EZER will surely gather the remnant of Israel. EZER will put them together like sheep in the fold, like a flock in the midst of its pasture. There will be noise with men. EZER is saying he will gather us and he will bring us back into his land. But there are some requirements from us. There are some things that we have to do so that EZER could bring us back into the land. We have to search EZER. We have to praise his name. We have to glory in him and not in the ways of the heathen. We are not to worry about riches. We are not to put all vanity in our minds and lust. We are to seek EZER, our Redeemer, for we are here but for a short time. EZER promised he will never leave us alone, and he will never give us more than we can bear. Let us do what EZER say as a people. Let us call out his name and ask for what we want, as the two examples I've just read, where we are asking to deliver us from the nations and to bring us back into the land that he gave unto our fathers. My dear brothers and sisters, now I will take you to another prophet. His name is Zephaniah. It reads, Zephaniah chapter 3 verse 20, and it reads, At that time I will bring you in, even at the time when I gather you together. Indeed, I will give you renown and praise among all the peoples of the earth, when I restore your fortunes before your eyes, says EZER, our Redeemer. Here EZER is saying that he is going to restore us, and all the things that we missed, he will give it back unto us. All the fortunes, all the greatness we had in Jerusalem before the heathen came, before they write their book and destroy us, before they took the name of EZER, our Redeemer, away from us, before they sell our sons and daughters, before they brought down the temple. EZER is saying here he will restore all these fortunes unto us as a people. But there are requirements, my brothers and sisters. There are requirements. We must go back to his constitution. We must follow his constitution, not the constitution of the United States, not the constitution of Europe, not the constitution of the islands where we are, but the constitution of EZER, our Redeemer. For it is perfect. And when we follow or live according to that constitution that EZER gave Shemaiah on the 2 tablets of stone, we shall never be put to shame. Now let me go to the book of Isaiah, another prophet. All the prophets are called by his name. Isaiah chapter 27 verse 12, and it reads, In that day, which means in that time, EZER will start his threshing from the flowing streams of the Euphrates to the brook of Egypt, and you will be gathered up one by one, O sons of Israel. EZER is saying when that time is come, that is almost here, my brothers and sisters, look at the river, the Euphrates. It's drying up. EZER says he's going to dry it up so that the children, the sons of Israel, may come back to their homeland. One by one, he is bringing them back. Listen to the words of EZER, my dear brothers and sisters. I will now take you to the book of Jeremiah, chapter 31, verse 10. Hear the word of EZER, O nations. Declare in the coastlines after all, and say, He who scattered Israel will gather him and keep him as a shepherd keep his flock. Here EZER is saying to the nations, you are taking advantage of my people, but I will gather them. I have scattered them. I will gather them. and I will look over them as a shepherd look over his flock. Remember, we have to do our part. We have to keep his constitution. We have to keep those laws. We have to do it. We have to call on his name like our ancestors did. We must do it, my brothers and sisters. We must do it. Now I'll take you to Psalms 147, verse 2. EZER built up Jerusalem. He gathered the outcasts of Israel. EZER is the one that will rebuild Jerusalem. And he is the one that will gather those who was cast out. Isaiah 56, verse 8. EZER, our Redeemer, who gathered the dispersed of Israel, EZER declares, yet others I will gather to them, to those already gathered. EZER is saying here, he is still gathering his people. He have already gathered some, and he is still gathering more. His hand is stretched out to us. This is the latter days that EZER spoke of. This is the latter days when he will gather his people again. My dear brothers and sisters, call on the name of EZER. Isaiah chapter 56, verse 8. Ezekiel chapter 39, verse 27. And the correct name for Ezekiel is Hezekiah. They all had the name of EZER in their names. And it reads, when I bring them back from the peoples and gather them from the lands of their enemies, then I shall be sanctified through them in the sight of many nations. EZER is saying here, when he gathers us from among the peoples, from among our enemies, he's going to gather us from among them, and then he will be sanctified through us in the sight of the nations. They will see us. They will hear us praising EZER, our Redeemer. They will hear that. I take it to Psalm 107, verse 2 to 3. Let the redeemed of EZER say so, whom he has redeemed from the hand of the adversary, and gather from the lands, from the east and from the west, and from the north and from the south. EZER is saying, let the redeemed say so. EZER is saying to us, let us call him our Redeemer. EZER is saying to us, he is our Redeemer. EZER is saying to us, we are to say he is our Redeemer. I will now take you to Isaiah 54, verse 7. For a brief moment I forsook you, but with great compassion will I gather you. EZER is saying here to us, that 400 years that we have been in captivity is a brief moment to him. He says, in a brief moment, he forsook us. So he turned his back on us when they invaded Jerusalem. And EZER is saying here, he will have compassion on us and he will gather us again. That's what he is doing today. My brothers and sisters, that's what he is doing today. Let us go back again to the book of Ezekiel 39:28. Then they will know that EZER is our Redeemer, because EZER made them to go into exile among the nations, and then gather them again to their own land, and will leave none of them there any longer. Here EZER is saying he's going to take us from the nations where we were scattered, and he will bring us back into our own land. My dear brothers and sisters, EZER is telling you that he has a land for you. EZER also tells us he will be in the midst of us. EZER is coming to the earth to set up his righteous place, his kingship on the earth. We are not going to know heaven. EZER never promised us heaven. Listen to where he is going to take us back. He's going to take us back into the land, our own land. Let us go to the book of Hosea chapter 8 verse 10. And it reads, even though they hire allies among the nations, no, I will gather them up, and they will begin to diminish because of the burden of the king and of princes. Here EZER is saying to us, although we may be settled in the land of our enemies, although we might be enjoying it in the land of our enemies, although we have business, we have families in the land of our enemies, he is still going to gather us out. EZER does not want his people in a strange land. EZER wants his people in his land, the land that he chose to put his name there, the land Moriah. That is the land that is called by EZER's name. That land is in Jerusalem. That's the place we were. This is where EZER had his people, the tribe of EZER-IAH. That's where we were established before we was driven to the four corners of the earth. We are not belonging to the land of Ham. We are not belonging to Egypt. EZER has a land for us. It is called the land, the Holy Land. It is called the land that is flowing with milk and honey. It is also called the Promised Land. That's the land that EZER has for his people, the children of EZER-IAH and EZER-IAH. That's the land he has for us. Now take you to the book of Hosea chapter 8 verse 10. That's the last one I read, so I'm sorry. I'll take you to Deuteronomy chapter 30 verse 3. Then EZER, your Redeemer, will restore you from captivity and have compassion on you, and will gather you again from all the peoples where EZER, your Redeemer, had scattered you. EZER here is telling you, you are not the same with every other people. You are a special people unto him. Read all the scriptures I'm giving you. You will see it is to the children of EZER-IAH and Judah. The Most High is not speaking about all the nation. He's not speaking about no Christianity. He's not speaking about no Islam. He's not speaking about the nations. He's speaking to you, EZER-IAH. You are a special people to EZER. EZER scattered you to the four corners of the earth, that you may turn back to him. 400 years and you are not thinking about your Redeemer. And EZER is stretching out his hand before you this day, and he's telling you, you need to turn back to him. You need to get his constitution, the same book that they call the Bible today. They have removed his name from it and put L-O-R-D. But it is simple to remove the L-O-R-D and put the name EZER back. Put his name back in his book and call on him. Call on EZER, your Redeemer. Deuteronomy chapter 30 verse 3. Then EZER, your Redeemer, will restore you from captivity and have compassion on you, and will gather you again from the peoples where EZER, your Redeemer, has scattered you. Deuteronomy chapter 30 verse 4. If your outcasts are at the ends of the earth, from there EZER, your Redeemer, will gather you, and from there EZER will bring you back. Here Ayah is saying, if you are outcast to the ends of the earth, wherever you are, Ayah will fetch you and bring you back. But there is a condition, my brother and sisters. There is a condition. Here is the condition Ayah has given you. He says, but that's Nehemiah chapter 1 verse 9. But if you return to Ayah and keep Ayah commandments, if you return to Ayah and keep his commandments and do them, though those of you who have been scattered were in the most remote part of the heavens, Ayah will gather them from there and will bring them to the place where Ayah have chosen to cause his name to dwell. Ayah here is telling you, you have to return to his commandments. You have to return to the constitution that he gave us as a people to be a nation on a land. When we return to that constitution and study it, when we study the constitution and we know it, and we go back, Ayah is saying here, he will take us back into the land. He will find us wherever we are and bring us back into the land. The land that he calls his name to dwell in, the land called Moriah, Ayah land. That's the land he is talking about. That land is in Jerusalem. Now I take you to Deuteronomy chapter 30 verse 4. If your outcasts are, sorry, I just read this one. Nehemiah chapter 1 verse 9. If you return to Ayah and keep his commandments and do them, though you may have been scattered to the uttermost remote part of heaven, Ayah will gather you from there, and he will bring you back to the place where Ayah have chosen to cause his name to dwell. And his name is dwelling in Moriah in Jerusalem. Isaiah chapter 11 verse 11 and 12. Then it will happen on that time that Ayah will again recover the second time with his hand, and that's what he's doing today. The remnant of his people who will remain from Assyria, Egypt, Patros, Cush, Elam, Shinar, Hamath, and from the islands of the sea. And he will lift up a standard for the nations. Here Ayah is telling you where all the places where you are, all the places where we are. We are in the islands. We are in all the different lands that he mentioned. And here is Ayah is saying to us, he's stretching out his hand to gather us from these islands, from these places. And he will set a standard for the nation and assemble the banished ones of EZER-IAH, and will gather the dispersed of Judea from the four corners of the earth. Here he is telling you, Judea, that you are scattered to the four corners of the earth, Judea, and he's going to gather you. And the rest, they are in the different lands that he mentioned. Jeremiah 29 verse 14. I will be found by you. Ayah is saying here that you will find him, declare Ayah, and I will restore your fortunes and will gather you from all the nations and from all the places where I have driven you, declares Ayah, and I will bring you back to the place from where I sent you into exile. Isaiah is saying here, you will have to call on him. You have to find him. You have to seek him, declares Isaiah. And when you do that, he will restore your fortunes. He will restore your favor. He will restore your blessings. He will restore your good fortunes. And he will gather you from all the nations and from all the places where he have driven you, declares Isaiah. And Isaiah will bring you back to the place from where he have sent you into exile. Where did he send us into exile from? The land Moriah in Jerusalem. That is the land he is speaking about. That's the land that he gave our fathers, Adam, Isaac, and Jacob. That's the land he is talking about. Jeremiah 32 verse 30, Jeremiah 32 verse 37. Behold, I will gather them out of all the lands to which I have driven them in my anger, in my wrath, and in great indignation, and I will bring them back to the place and make them dwell in safety. Isaiah is telling you, for you to be safe and dwell in safely, for you to experience what happiness is, for you to experience what joy is, for you to experience what safety is as a people. We cannot march in the streets of the United States of America. We can't march in the streets of Europe. We have to turn back and serve our Redeemer and call on him to remove us from the nations. That's what he's saying to us. We have to return to his commandments, his constitution. And we have to ask him to remove us from the nations. If you forget your Redeemer's constitution and you stick to the constitution of your enemies, then you are serving your enemies. And your enemies will not deliver you. They will oppress you. That's what they do. Praise Isaiah, praise Isaiah, praise Isaiah. Let us go back to the book of Hezekiah, and we go to chapter 11, verse 17, and it reads, Therefore say, thus say I, your Redeemer, I will gather you from the places and assemble you out of the countries among which you have been scattered, and I will give you the land of EZER-IAH. Here Isaiah is telling us he is going to gather us from the lands where we are scattered. We are not a nation, my brothers and sisters. I told you before, we are a scattered people. And here Isaiah is promising us to bring us back as a nation. You cannot be a nation if you don't have a land. You cannot be ruled by a constitution if you do not have a land, a territory that is yours. And Isaiah has given us a constitution to rule the territory he gave us. But because of our disobedience, he removed us from it. And he scattered us among the heathens, because our ancestors was interested in the ways of the heathen. And now Isaiah is promising us deliverance. He is stretching out his hand to us. He told us, in the latter days knowledge shall increase, and that which was hidden from the wise and the prudent shall be declared unto the babe and the suckling of the last generation. My dear brothers and sisters, Isaiah's knowledge is so powerful, and it magnifying itself every day before us. Isaiah's wisdom and knowledge is before us. Let us call on his name and do his commandments and ask him to remove us from the lands of our enemies. Marching in the street would not save you and will not deliver you. As long as you seek to abide by the constitution of the heathen. Follow the constitution of EZER-IAH, our Redeemer. And when you follow the constitution of EZER-IAH, your Redeemer, you will not violate the constitution of the heathen, because their laws are imperfect. But EZER-IAH laws is perfect, and it lasts forever. His laws is above all laws. His laws is truth. And when you follow his laws, you are not to be afraid of the laws of the nations. Once you're following EZER-IAH's law, you automatically will be doing the laws of the nation. EZER-IAH will protect you and keep you and guide you. Here he's telling you he is ready to bring us back into the land. But we have to turn back to him. He's telling us what we have to do. Can't you hear it? Can't we do this? We don't have to spend money for this. We don't have to buy anything for this. We just have to do it. We have to call. We have a voice. The same way we're marching in the street. Let us call down his name. Let us march the street calling his name like they did around the walls of Jericho. Walk the street and call his name for deliverance, my brothers and sisters, and see the heathen fall. See them fall from the high places. They will crumble like the wall of Jericho. That's what we have to do, my brothers and sisters. Join with me wherever you are. EZER-IAH is close to us. He is waiting for us to ask him what we need. We cannot be asking idols for what we need, and EZER-IAH is watching us. That's why we are being punished. That's why we are being oppressed. That's why we are being in the position we are in. Your pastors are lying to you. The preachers are lying to you. They are deceitful. They are wicked. They are full with evil. And they spew things unto you from their evil heart, their evil imagination. My dear brothers and sisters, go into your book and read your book. Read those scriptures I'm giving you. See what EZER-IAH is saying to you. Read the whole scripture. EZER-IAH is begging you to call out to him. He said, one by one, call out to him. Call out his name and ask for what you need. Ask for what you want. Ask for wisdom, knowledge, and comprehension. He will give you the rest. Ask him for wisdom, knowledge, and comprehension. Ask him for the ability to study his word. Ask him for mercy and blessings, loving kindness and peace. Ask him, my dear brothers and sisters. Ask EZER-IAH. Ask him. Ask him. And he will hear you. He will give it to you. He will give it to you. EZER-IAH says in Hezekiah chapter 28, verse 25, thus says EZER-IAH, when I gather the house of Israel from the peoples among whom they are scattered, and will manifest my house in them, and will manifest my holiness in them, in the sight of the nations. Then they will live in the land which I gave to my servant Jacob. Here EZER-IAH is telling you, my brother, my sister, let me read it again. Thus says EZER-IAH, your Redeemer, when I gather the house of Israel from the peoples among whom they are scattered, we are scattered among the peoples, and will manifest my holiness in them, in the sight of the nations. EZER-IAH will set his spirit in us when we call on his name. Then they will live in the land which I gave to my servant Jacob. Then we will be able to go back into the land. Only then, when EZER-IAH is manifesting in us. When we call on his name and he is manifesting in us. Ezekiel 20, verse 41. as a suiting armor. I will accept you when I bring you out from the peoples and gather you from the lands where you are scattered. And I will prove myself holy among you in the sight of the nations. Here Isaiah is saying to us, he says in Ezekiel chapter 20 verse 41, as a suiting armor, I will accept you when I bring you out from the peoples and gather you from the lands where you are scattered. Our people are scattered into lands that is not ours, my brothers and sisters. And I am saying here, he will prove himself holy among us in the sight of the nations. When we all start to call on his name, when we all turn back to his commandments, Ayah will prove himself in the sight of us before our enemies. They will get to know who we are. They will respect us and want to help us and join us and submit themselves unto us. Ayah is saying this to you. The word of Ayah shall always stand. Always stand. Ezekiel 20 verse 34, it says, I will bring you out from the peoples and gather you from the lands where you are scattered, with a mighty hand and with an outstretched arm and wrath poured out. So here he's saying he's going to punish the nations to bring us out. Can't you see they've been punished? Can't you see they are being punished? Here he's telling you, he said, I will bring you out from the peoples and gather you from the lands where you are scattered, with a mighty hand and with an outstretched arm and with wrath poured out. Ayah is calling us, my dear brothers and sisters. He's calling us. He's calling us. Let's return to Jeremiah 32, verse 37, and see again what he said. Behold, I will gather them out of all the lands to which I have driven them in my anger and in my wrath and in great indignation, and I will bring them back to this place and make them dwell in safety. That's the only place where we shall be safe, is when he brings us back into the land that he drove us out of. But we have conditions. We have to call his name. We have to do it. Remember, I read to you in Chronicles 16:35. We have to say, save us, O Ayah, our Savior. Gather us and deliver us from the nations, to give thanks to your holy name and glory in your prayers. And I went to Psalm 106 and I showed you 106 verse 47. He said, save us, O Ayah, our Redeemer, and gather us from among the nations, to give thanks to your holy name and glory in your prayers. Why is he saying that to us? Because we are among the nations and they are teaching us to worship idols. We are worshiping idols, wood and stone, in these lands that we are in. We are not calling on the name of Ayah, our Redeemer. We are worshiping idols. Jesse is an idol. Yahweh is an idol. Jehovah, idols. Ayah has one name. His name is Ayah. I've shown you videos with his name. I hope you're searching for his name. I hope you're trying to find his name on your own. I hope you're calling him and asking him for his name. I hope you're doing this, my brothers and sisters. I hope you're doing this. I hope you're asking Ayah, your Redeemer, to prove his name to you. I hope you are doing this. Now, we go to Ezekiel chapter 34, 36, verse 24. 34, verse 13. I will bring them out from the peoples and gather them from the countries and bring them to their own land, and will feed them on the mountains of EZER-IAH, by the streams, and in all the inhabited places of the land. Here Ayah is telling us where he is bringing us. He's not telling us in nowhere in his book from Genesis to Malachi. Nowhere from Genesis to Malachi, Ayah is telling us but bringing us back to heaven. Ayah is telling us he's bringing us back into a land that he is called by his name, a land that he will set up his sanctuary in, his sanctuary where we will be safe, a land that he will rule. He will come down and set up his sanctuary as he came down and spoke to our ancestors. It's the same land he told Shemaiah, Moses, that when he take the children out of EZER-IAH, that he have to bring him to that mountain, to that land. And when he brought them there to the land, he spoke to them. That's Ayah's land, Moriah, Ayah land, Mount Moriah, Ayah mountain. His name is Ayah. The children his people is called by his name, EZER-IAH and EZER-IAH, the northern tribe and the southern tribe. And Ayah promised when he brings us back, we will be having one name. It will be EZER-IAH. For let us now take you to Ezekiel chapter 36, verse 24. For I will take you from the nations. I will take you from the nations. Not one nation, from all the places where we are scattered. I will take you from all the nations, gather you from all the lands, and bring you into your own land. Ayah has a land for us. He gave a land to us. We have to go back to that land and become a nation. But we have to take the constitution he gave us. We have to live by the constitution he gave us. In that constitution, his name is on the top of it. He said, my name is Ayah. This is what you shall say unto them. I am the mighty one of your fathers, the mighty one of Abraham, of Isaac, and of Jacob have sent me unto you. This is my name forever to all your generations. This is my name to them. Exodus chapter 3, verse 15. My dear brothers and sisters, let us serve Ayah, our Redeemer, and ask for his mercy and his deliverance. Let us do this. Let us ask Ayah to bring us back into the land that he gave to us. Let us stop being strangers in people's land. Let us stop serving people's GODs in their lands. Let us return to our land and worship our Redeemer. Let us go back to our land and serve our Creator. Let us go back to our land, EZER-IAH and Judea, and serve Ayah, our Redeemer. Let us do this. Ayah wants us to do this. Ezekiel chapter 37, verse 21, he says, say to who is them? Say to us, EZER-IAH and Judea, say to us, thus says Ayah, our Redeemer, behold, I will take the sons of EZER-IAH from among the nations where they have gone, and I will gather them from every side and bring them into their own land. My brothers and sisters, I want you to hear, I want you to read these. Mark down the scriptures I'm giving you and read them. Read the whole chapter. Now I take you to the book of Zechariah, chapter 10, verse 10. I will bring them back from the land of Egypt and gather them from Assyria, and I will bring them into the land of Gilead and Lebanon until no room can be found for them. Ayah is going to bring us back. And he is going to fill the land. He is going to fill the land with us. Not heaven, a land. Isaiah chapter 45 verse 5, 43 verse 5. Do not fear, for Ayah is with you. Ayah is with us. Ayah will bring us our offspring from the east. Ayah was saying to our ancestors, he will bring us from the east and gather us from the west. That's where his people are, in the east and in the west. We are the Uriah who is in the west. We were sold to the west. Jeremiah 31 verse 8, and it reads, Behold, I will bring them from the north country. I will gather them from the remote parts of the earth. Among them, the blind and the lame, the woman with child, and she who is labor with child together, a great company. They will return. They will return here. We're here to Jerusalem. We will return to the land that Ayah gave to our ancestors. Let us not worry about how we're going to go back. He told us how we're going to get back already. What we have to worry about is what we have to do, my brothers and sisters. Let us do what we have to do. Let us not focus on what the heathens did to us. Let us not focus on what they are doing to us. Let us put our attention to the things that we have to do. We have to call on the name Ayah. We have to study his constitution, which is the commandments. We have to do the laws in this constitution. We have to follow them. We have to be holy. Ayah is holy. That is what we have to do. Not marching in the street. Not calling down on some man's blood. Not believing that somebody died for us. Read the book that Ayah gave us, from Genesis to Malachi, with emphasis on Ezekiel, the book of Ezekiel, which is correct name is Zedekiah. He was the suffering servant Ayah spoke of in Isaiah chapter 53. Ezekiel, Ayah was speaking to Isaiah about Ezekiel. He is the suffering servant. Read the book. Read Isaiah 53 and then go and read the book of Ezekiel. He is the one he sent with the message to us, the report. Who did he send the report to? He sent the report to us. That is our report. Read it and see what Ayah said. In that report, he tells us no man to die for another man's sin. The father cannot die for the son. This cannot happen in EZER-IAH or Judea. It cannot happen. We cannot offer no body for sacrifice. We cannot offer no blood. We're not even to touch blood. Blood is supposed to go in the ground and be covered. We're not to eat it, not drink it. So how could we come now and drinking the blood of some man that was dead and eating his flesh for us for redemption? Come on, my people, wake up from the lies that the heathen have taught you. Tear that book out your book. Take the New Testament out your book. They use our scriptures to write the New Testament. Can't you see it? Don't you see? They in all the book, they give you reference. When you look at the reference, where do they send you? They send you to the same book, the old, what they're calling Old Testament. That's your book, they're calling it old. And their book is new. But their book, when they have to prove something from their book, they're sending you to your book. Doesn't that tell you that they took your book to write their book? And they twisted the words that they take from your book, because when you look at the reference they give you, when you go to your book, most times your book is telling you something totally different. Have you ever seen the word JC in your book? Did you ever see anywhere in what I give you, the scriptures I just read to you, did you see anywhere there that the Most High, our Redeemer, telling you that He gonna send some man to gather you? Did He tell you that He gonna gather you? Did He tell you that He gonna send somebody to prepare some land for you? In your New Testament, they tell you He going to prepare a place for you. Aya is showing you here He have a land for us already. Aya is telling you here He have a place for us. He not saying that He has to prepare nothing for us. He say He has given that place to our fathers. And that is the place He's going to gather us and bring us back. Isn't that clear and straightforward to you? Does it make sense to you? And they are giving you in your book that someone gonna come and gather the nation and separate them, and they go bring he going to prepare a place for you. And the one who going to prepare that place for you, telling you that the only how you could get salvation is to keep the commandments of the Most High. That same one telling you they're gonna come in His name and cause you to go astray, saying that He is Christ. Do you know what the word Christ means? Christ means anointed. Jesse was never anointed. Read the story they give you in John. Read the story they give you in Luke. Read the story they give you in Matthew. Read all these stories. He was never anointed in life nor in death. Do you know he was 12 years old when he was missing and nobody knew where he was? Where he was for this 12 years, after 12 years until 33, until 30 years, he appeared again. So he was a boy from 1 to 12, he did nothing, and then he went missing. And then he came when he was 30, and he lived for 3 years. And they told you that they killed him. Where he was. Where he was. My dear brothers and sisters, study, read books, find out, get information. Nobody died for your sin. Nobody even died on any tree or any cross. The one that they called JC, and whose name they say was Yeshua, never died on a tree for you. To die on a tree is a curse. To die on a tree is a curse. It's not a blessing. Your Redeemer cannot die. Your Redeemer make heaven and earth and everything there is in it. Your Redeemer owns life itself. Your Redeemer made us out of the dirt, and He breathed the breath of life into us. Can we take life from Him? Come on, my brothers and sisters, use your head. Use your head. The one they give you saying that He's your Redeemer, He Himself, they tell you when they was killing Him, He said He is forsaken. Can you see what they have done to you, the Romans have done to you? Don't you see what the Romans have done to you? Don't you see what the heathen continue to do to you? You can see what if you cannot bring your mind to what they did to our ancestors, if you can bring to your mind what they did to our people when they brought them here, if you can put your mind what they did in Jerusalem to your people, our fathers, our prophets, our priests, and the temple, and our buildings and our homes, if you cannot put that into your mind, can you put what they are doing to you today? Can you see what they are doing to you today in this year 2020? Can you see it? Can't you figure out who is your enemies? Can you figure out who will help you and who wouldn't help you? If since you've been here for 400 years, no nation, no kingdom, no king, nobody came to look, not to help you. Don't you comprehend what Aya is saying to you? That He alone is your helper? Can you comprehend that he is telling you that there is no one else who can deliver you but him? If since you've been here, and all these who came and died, and all what they say, who there is this and there is that, and no one could have changed it for you. Until today, no one has changed it for you. Can you then comprehend this? Can you comprehend the words I just read to you, the scriptures? Can you go in there and read it? Can you see what I is saying to you in these words? Now he is speaking, especially in the book of Hezekiah, which is Ezekiel. Ezekiel, the words in there, none of these words in there is Ezekiel words. You will see every paragraph start off with say unto them, thus say unto them, go and say this to them. I was directing him what to say to us. He was a messenger. He was the messenger. He was the servant that I sent to do this. He was the suffering servant. He's the one who I put on the iniquities on. Nobody died for you. Nobody died for you. The suffering servant is not no JC. It was Ezekiel. He didn't have to die for you. He had to come and tell you what you was doing that was wrong. When he said he laid his iniquity upon him, he was saying that he has shown him all the evil that our people was doing. And he had to come and expose what they was doing to them. And he lived. And he had length of days. He didn't die. Turn from this Roman lies. Turn to EZER-IAH. His hand is stretched out to you. Praise his name. Call it EZER-IAH. 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 I thank you. EZER-IAH. EZER-IAH. I praise you. EZER-IAH. EZER-IAH. I praise your name. Oh Father Almighty, you created me in your image and in your likeness. I pray that you send your holy watchers to watch over me. Let the eyes of your angels be upon me. Let the eyes of your angels be upon me. O I am my Redeemer, let the eyes of your angels be upon me. Strengthen your spirit in me and cause me to leap. Strengthen your spirit in me, and cause me to leap. Let the hands of your helpers help me, Let the hands of your helpers help me. O I am my Redeemer. Set them around me. Set your glory upon me. Set your light, O EZER-IAH, around me, so no darkness may prevail. Anoint my head with your holy oil, O EZER-IAH, my Redeemer, and my hands bless me. Fill my cup and let it overflow. Write your name upon me, O EZER-IAH, my Redeemer, and let me be yours. Let me walk in your ways. Let your constitution, your commandments be my guide. Lift me up to the realm of comprehension, that I may comprehend all your words. Speak to me mentally, O EZER-IAH, my Redeemer. Strengthen my head and make me strong. Guide me, O EZER-IAH, where I need guidance. Strengthen me where I am weak. Feed me when I am hungry, and give me drink. Let me never be thirsty. Let me never be put to shame. Let me never be put to shame, O EZER-IAH, my Redeemer. Prepare me for your new Jerusalem. Prepare me to live in the land that is called by your name. Prepare me to live in the land when you set up your sanctuary. When you open the gate of Eden, O EZER-IAH, my Redeemer, let me be in there. Let me come before your holy oracle and call your name. When I join with my ancestors Those have gone before me. When I meet with Adam and Abraham and Isaac and Jacob and David and Isaiah and Jeremiah and Nehemiah and Obadiah and Zechariah, when I meet them, my ancestors, O Ayah, my Redeemer, what a joyful day it will be. What a glorious time, O Ayah, my Redeemer, to meet my ancestors and to stand before your midst and to spread my hands and look on your holy place and call your name, O Ayah, my Redeemer. Hear my cry, my plea, as I beg for my brothers and sisters that are around me. I beg, O Ayah, for mercy. I beg for loving kindness and for peace. I beg for the healing grace on those who call upon your name. As I give them your name, O Ayah, my Redeemer, I pray that when they call upon you, you will answer them. I pray that you will hear their supplication and you will protect them from all danger, from all accidents, all iniquities, from all plague and all sickness. Remove from them all stress and lust and vanity. May you wash their hearts and make it clean. Set your spirit in them, that they may call you. And as we do it one at a time, that you will heal us and you will save us. And one day you will bring us back into your land. And there I will meet them. There I will hear them saying, I listened to your voice. And I heard your words, the words that you spoke, the words that Ayah has put in your mouth. O Ayah, my Redeemer, I praise your name. For your name is great and is worthy to be praised. For your name is above all names. Your name transcends all languages. O Ayah, my Redeemer, you are great, and your name is excellent in all the earth. Praise be to Ayah, praise be to Ayah, all praise be to Ayah, all praise be to Ayah. EZER-IAH, praise Ayah. EZER-IAH, praise Ayah. Sons of Jacob, praise Ayah. Praise Ayah, praise Ayah, praise Ayah. Praise be to Ayah. Praise Ayah.